the perfume stuff, it gave me a way of basically learning about perfume is great in the sense that it's an art form that's kind of like putty. It's a sculptural thing, and it absorbs anything it touches. It's really a sponge. And
what do you mean
as
by
a result,
I get the putty thing, but what do you mean by absorbs? How does it absorb?
As a result, it allowed, like, being a perfumer kind of allowed me to like basically use and learn about anything I could possibly know or ever want to know.
I see.
So, like, one day I'd be making a perfume based on the Odyssey by Homer, and the next day I'd be making a perfume about a black hole 45 billion light years away. If this went well just once, it'll be alright. You can be a light, you can be a light, you can be a light. If this went well just once, it'll be alright.
Welcome, Moss Girl, to the Baroque podcast. Yeah.
Angel claps. Very fingery fingers.
Yeah. I'll clap my hair together. It's like a hairy clap.
Me too. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. Hello.
Hello.
It's me.
It's Clancy. I'm gonna just do a backup record on my phone just to have.
Why not? Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah. We've got live going. We've got audio. We've got
a million
everything.
things.
Lots of things together.
Yeah. A soup.
So
I had a little plan for today, in terms of approach, which was just I did this with Alice actually earlier this week.
Right.
I want to just pretend I know you a bit less than I really do, and just kind of like try and see you afresh, trying to be curious in the way that someone who knows you a bit not as well would be, in order to help like listeners get to know you, and also just because it's kind of fun, but also it sort of helps me structure the thing a little bit. I can ask you about your past and your present and your future, and so if I ask a question that's like I clearly already know the answer, that's why. And
that's fine. No. I like it. Set it up, and just make it nice and easy and clear for people. That's what I like.
Zingly, yeah, because this podcast is gonna take off soon, and we got to get all the Moss Girl in there, I think.
Yeah. No, congratulations on all the episodes. It's very exciting and very nice.
Thank you.
I've hidden the self view. Because I keep.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, I'm gonna keep mine up, but only because I'm.
Just let me know if I go really out of frame. And let me know if I just start talking like that. Because otherwise it's like a mirror, and those.
Totally.
I want to be a pop star. So if I see an image of myself, I have to look at it no matter the consequence. It's just how pop stardom works. Anyways. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe can I give a brief introduction of you, and then you can introduce yourself. This is what I usually do.
Yeah, let's do that.
To explain the familial. What am I saying? You and I are really good friends. Some might say besties. I don't know. I don't know what they would say. I don't know what they say on the street. But
I don't believe anything you hear.
Moscow was. You were my best man at my wedding last year, and I don't know why I'm starting that way. I should start with professional stuff, but at least that explains our vibe. So, very close friends, and more importantly, Moss Girl is a music musical artist and producer, musician, and general artist as well. Has been deeply involved with perfume, although has somewhat. I don't know if Moss Girl has. Maybe that's inaccurate, but I feel like it's worth mentioning because at some point you may bring out a reference to ambergris or something. But anyway, so you have a history in perfume as well, and
Oh Lord.
yes, just a generally brilliant creative mind and a wonderful person who I love very much. Here is Moss Girl. Would you like to introduce yourself? And I'll put a maybe a slightly more, in case we forget any, a more comprehensive like bio in the chat if you provide me with that. Even if you don't, I'll make one.
Oh, you're a big sweetie. Yeah, no, thank you for
Moscow.
that lovely introduction. Moscow, it's me. Gosh, it's particularly like interesting and strange to do this because this is the very first time that I've ever, like, as Moscow, being Moscow, the first time I've ever spoken in a recorded way that is to be released publicly. Like, it's a very different thing. Anyways,
didn't we record? We tried, didn't we? It hasn't gone out. But didn't we do a Moscow podcast?
Yeah, but it's coming. It's coming. We're going to release it on the same day as Halley's Comet comes back in 2063. So yeah, no, it's coming. It's coming. I just need to pay. I need to pay someone to edit it because I don't think I'm going to be able to edit it myself. Anyways,
fair enough. Look, I need money. Hook me up.
Yeah, hey, Bob's your uncle. In case people aren't familiar with Australian colloquialism, Bob's not actually Toby's uncle, but that's just a saying. Anyway, Moscow. Yes. I'm Moscow. I am an electronic musician and vocalist, and I guess beatbox sort of, and I guess experimental sound designer, dance music makeup and performer. I guess that's how I'd introduce myself. I'm a lapsing perfumer, ex-perfumer, and yeah, just general Pink fan of both the artist named Pink and the color named Pink. And I guess that's me. Shirt. Yeah, let's wear it. I don't know if you can. You go.
Oh, I feel like I should have worn a paler pink, and then we'd really match.
Yes, it's this playtime, and it has a knife on it.
Can't quite see the knife, but we can imagine.
No, but it's an imaginary knife. We don't want you to get demonetized by showing cartoon knives on shirts. Yeah, so that's a bit about me. I've been only doing music in this Moss Girl way for about a year and a half, and there's a bit of a story as to how that sort of came into reality, which I can tell if you'd like me to.
Please.
Gosh.
Origin story.
Origin
State
story.
of origin.
Well, I started it up through doing my version of the 30 days, the month of music challenge, which some people will have heard of, where you make a song every day for a month. And that was a very, very significant thing because that kind of helped me. It helped me in so many ways that it's very hard to talk about. But I did basically no music really since I was at school, which I did some when I was at school. Really none until I did the 30 days of music, and you were actually a very big part of that for me because I had a lot of music to show and not many people to show it to. And that was just like a big, I don't know, it was like a religious experience for me. And it felt afterwards, it felt like I'd ran a marathon. I pushed the boulder up the hill enough times that I'd almost built another me. I'd unlocked sort of like that Jungian dream where he finds the chambers in his, he finds the extra chambers in his like parents' house or something.
Yeah,
parents'
in the
bedroom. I
basement.
forget. In the basement.
Yeah.
It was like that for me. It was like, oh, there's a false floor here, and I've like punched through it. And
that sounds like Alice when she discovered French. She just discovered she could be a whole other person.
Right.
Enormous.
Right. Yeah. I think it just, you have these experiences that sort of bubble up unlocked potential that you never realized but has to be unlocked to even know exists, I think. And that was just a massive thing, and I was so overwhelmed by it. And I recommend that people try it, even if they don't get the whole way through. Which, to be honest, like
they
it's
try
not
a 30-day challenge.
Yeah, just try it. Try
I've never made my way all the way through one.
But try a week. Like try something because the process. Not to go like too deep on this story, but I'm very happy to because it is I like talking about it because it makes me feel a lot. That process of like needing to make things and committing yourself under such like constrained limits and making things for the sake of moving them behind you to look forward to make another. It's almost like you're making this thing to make it as good as you possibly can, but you're really just trying to make it. That's the big thing because it's just so under the pump to get through, and you really can't spend much time on each piece, really. And that process is just like revolutionary to, I think, people who think creatively in the way that I do. It's intimidating, but it helped me help me pull something out of myself that is very hard to do under normal creative practice standards, because it's not a normal way to think about wanting to be a professional and serious musician. It's like making a song a day for a calendar month. That's not really how a lot of people do it. Maybe some like beat makers who are really prolific and are writing to have people like MC over the top of their stuff. Maybe that they can. I'm sure there are some people there who push out beats real quick like that. But it's very different. And a lot of these songs I was also singing on and like mixing the vocal for in a day, which is just, I mean, I didn't do an amazing job. I didn't own a mic when I was doing this. But it was still like such an incredibly, it's just such an incredible thing to try. And the Moss Girl aesthetic and this Moss Girl sort of vision of like, I don't know, of thinking and feeling and breathing life in this way, I think came out of that incredible repetition that it gave me the energy to push through into all of last year. I think I was feeding off that energy and that life force for months and months afterwards. Like it was so big for me.
And I think like you said, like not many people work this way with like in the creative industries exactly. But I think if you abstract it a bit and say like working to deadlines, I think there's something that's like clearly really really useful about that as creative people we want to avoid often because we want to be gentle and like sensitive and that kind of thing. But like if you just have to do it soon, It's going to make you do it.
Yeah.
And that builds a positive feedback loop. You get shit done and you feel good. I was listening to a podcast where someone was saying just this recently. It was the Frank James podcast, the guy who does like Myers-Briggs comedy skits mostly on YouTube.
Right.
I'm just going to look up just because I heard of this guy he was interviewing and I've lost it. I want to look it up.
I'll say a thing while
you say
look
things.
it up,
It's about you. Go.
It reminds me of the your comment about like the reality of that also translating into like deadlines and being under the pump and needing to work in the real world of that stuff. It's also like maybe a more down to earth like manifestation of that sort of 30-day mentality is the idea of just like doing a little bit almost every day if you can. There was a guy, a YouTuber who does like production tips tutorials that I really loved for a while. Venus Theory, I think his name was, and he just talked about like what could you possibly achieve if you just did 5 minutes of music every day. Like if you had no days off with it, and that's helped me a lot getting through rough patches where I stagnate and struggle to finish, and it's just really helped me to keep that element of just like got to keep the water boiling and
totally
keep it moving.
Yeah, one of the presenters on This Jungian Life, one of my favorite podcasts, she wrote, I've forgotten her name, but I'm not doing well with names, maybe I never will, but she wrote for 15 minutes a day, I think, for a year and a bit, and that finished her first draft, and then she like had back and forth with an editor for another year. I think that's about the time frame, and then she had a book, and then she published it, and it was and it's like done quite well. I don't know if it's a bestseller, but like she got a book done in a couple of years.
She wrote a book,
chipping away 15 minutes a day.
That's right. Small successes. That's the name of the game. Yep.
Totally. And it also reminds me of a concept I just learnt about from another YouTuber. This is good. I like. We should reference lots of people, and I can hashtag them at the bottom of the YouTube video. Get them involved.
Great idea.
YouTuber, Jesse Cannon of Musefamation. That's what his YouTube channel's called. But he's also written a book on marketing that's really successful. I think it's just called like How to Market Your Music or something. But
okay, that's cool.
He talks about CSP, which is consistent. What is it? Consistent sustained promotion, I think it stands for, or maybe constant. I think consistent. Which is just it's kind of like the name of the game in music marketing, I think, where you try and you try and get stuff out over and over a long sustained period of time. Maybe you release a single every 2 months or a year or whatever it is. You plan out a long period of time, and then you get fucking TikToks and whatever you need to get out every week or every day or whatever it is.
Yeah. It reminds me, I don't know why this is coming into my mind. It's probably fine to say. Kirkland, who we both know.
I want to try and get him on, actually. Yeah, go on.
You should. That would be a great episode, because he is incredibly articulate with this stuff, particularly. And he was sort of talking to me about trying to endeavor to basically release something like 200 songs over 4 months, basically. So I see what you mean about the.
I mean, that would be constant. That's like
that would be very constant.
That's like an EP a day. Wait,
yeah, he was talking about it more like buying beats and then recording his track over it and then releasing that as like just being prolific with the vocally on top of these tracks.
I mean, even if it didn't work from a marketing perspective, that would be just a great. I guess it's like a 30-day challenge. Like you get that much work done, you're going to be pretty good at that work.
yeah, that is incredibly true. Yes.
Well, I'll try and get him on early enough to ask him about. Maybe he'll be mid project.
Please do. I would love to see it very much. He's a very interesting guy, and a pretty important part of the Canberra music scene. Really.
Mm. Okay, so we kind of sidetracked a little. You became Moss Girl really a year and a half ago in the
Yes.
What's that word that is a Jungian word? But anyway, in the fires of a 30-day challenge.
Yeah. I did it. It was during a very, very bad. It was during Canberra's really bad lockdown during COVID, and
ooh, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna the
we got
call is about
to
shut down.
But
Wait.
Mo.
No what?
Oh, I was Mo before the name.
Really? When we logged in last time, it said Mossy.
No, then I logged in again and it went Mo.
Well, it's concise. Have you accepted the recording?
I have.
Fantastic.
I did. We'll press recording live. Just
good idea. Nice.
My random ramblings.
Great. No. I think this has been great so far, and I can't wait to hear what's next. So, we were talking about Moss Girl. We were just getting back from a tangent. We were talking about productivity, consistent, sustained effort, and all that stuff, and Kirkland. And then I want to know more about you. I'll tell you. Actually,
I can't remember. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I wanna hear a little more about your childhood, because we kind of started a year and a half ago. It would be surprising if a person raised in a zoo suddenly started doing music aged 20-something. So,
oh Lord,
I'd love to hear what might have gone on a bit earlier to get you into music.
Well, yeah, sure. God, it's a big question. It's a big question.
Go for wherever intuitively feels good. But I remember you beatboxing and making music in high school, for example, and people would always ask you to do the same thing over and over, to do Iron Man.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
I miss that.
Yeah, that's right. I guess I sort of far out. It's such an interesting thing because I loved. I mean, we we grew up when I guess Discmans were still a really popular thing. I had a Discman and a disc wallet, and I had maybe I was in primary school. I had a couple Snoop Dogg albums, and I think at least one Eminem album, and anyways. So I loved all that. I remember being in primary school and thinking Eminem was unbelievably amazing, the most unbelievable music that people could make this music in this way and say these things. And I think that's kind of what got me into rap a bit. I was really interested in rap, and I rapped a bit in, I guess, early high school. So when I was in my very early teens, that kind of thing. And then, I was really interested in beatbox because I remember in year 6 at my school, in my class, there were 2 other guys who could beatbox, and they beatboxed before I did. And they were trying to do I Am Iron Man, which was a bit of a beatboxer's routine, is called Razel, this guy who was kind of a very significant beatbox guy in the very early 2000s, maybe. This is quite early for beatbox as a pop cultural thing. And he he did a routine where he did this Iron Man thing, and people can Google it, and it's perfectly good as a thing. And these two guys used to try to do it, and they also tried to impersonate. There was a show that was a bit like Mythbusters back then called Brainiac. Don't know if you ever saw that. It was like a science myth, sort of cool science show for youngins. And it had an intro sound that was like Brainiac in like a robot voice. And we try and impersonate the robot voice anyway. And so I saw them do that, and I was like, I can do that. And then I just I bested them in a kindly and polite and Victorian manner, and then they stopped doing it because I got better at it than them, and I kept doing it right up till basically now. I still do it in my private home as a private citizen. And
I feel like it gets public too, right? Like some of your sounds in your music are mouth sounds.
And when the 30-day challenge, a lot of that stuff was just like me. I mean, it's cringy to say, but it was me beatboxing a 10-year-old laptop microphone, not even into a mic, into my laptop mic, and just like quantizing and seeing what I could do. Like, there's a lot you can do with really bad quality audio. You can do a lot with it, and I just muck around with it like that. But it did, and I did it in school in a pretty public way. And I'm sure I've blocked this out from trauma and sheer embarrassment. A lot of people asked me to beatbox. Like I would. It was a bit of a thing. Like I would get cornered a lot. Even in year 12, it still happened. I'd get cornered. And I didn't even know I didn't even really know the people. People would hear about it, and it was, Canberra's a small place, blah blah blah. And so I guess I was really interested in that, and I was really interested in rap music and in hip hop. And in the whole sort of like, it's cringy in a way, but I was really interested in like, the musical differences between like West Coast and East Coast hip hop, and I loved like Snoop Dogg and Biggie and Tupac and all of those guys and Ice Cube. They're just such an interesting sound as like a 14-year-old kid from Red Hill, and I thought it was so interesting. And so, I did that and sung a fair bit as well. I started getting into kind of soul music and played the harmonica. I had a lot of harmonicas for a while there. Played the harmonica and got really interested in blues music, like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters, amazing blues guys from like pre-color television days, like quite a long time before like rock and roll. Like these guys were, they were from Mississippi back, when it was a very difficult place to make music and to be as an African American man. And I got really interested in that, and really interested in trying to develop a bit of a voice for myself and to sing. And
I remember you singing in front of the school a couple of times.
Yeah, and so I did a bit of singing here and there, and the beatbox and the singing kind of came together because I sort of started my own little looping routine when I was in year 10, so like 15.
What's it? Looping. I heard whooping. Yeah. I was like, what is this?
Like a
whooping cough?
I thought just like Goldberg for a second. I don't know why. Yeah, right. So I got like a little chaos. They were called Chaos Pad, and because I really loved an artist called Beardy Man, who did this looping routine, which is still amazing to watch. Some of his, he's still going, and I think he makes a big living off Patreon because he got quite a good Patreon following during the lockdown, and anyways, yeah, I started doing a bit of that, and it just sort of moved into then getting really interested in like electronic music. And our mutual friend Amin, who I did a fair bit of music stuff with in the sort of late teen years, he sort of showed me Ableton, and showed me kind of what a DAW was, what a computer program for making music could be. And I was not into it at all when he showed me. I thought it was so boring, and that's not like, I was just like, that's not a really interesting way to make music, because like it's not live, and it's not
a beautiful instrument made of wood and steel
and flesh
and flesh. Yeah,
and diamonds. And so yeah, I was not into it, but I eventually somehow got, I guess, it was around that time that dubstep became an incredibly big phenomenon. Became a very big cultural thing, I guess, kind of in tandem with like the skater boy, skater girl kind of goth revival thing. I don't know. It just became a big thing. Like everyone was wearing, everyone was wearing that kind of those black clothing and listening to Skrillex and UK dubstep people and bro step and all these side sort of, anyway, became a big thing, and I got really, really interested in it, and I thought, this is so cool, and I got really interested in sort of the heaviest sounding stuff, because I just thought, from a sound design perspective, it was so weird, like it was so unusual, and it was like death metal, but totally not. Like, and it was made by these guys in their mum's basement, basically. That's kind of how a lot of it started. And I just got interested in that, and kind of made my. I was lucky because I did have a very left-leaning school, very liberal school that was Narrabundah College, which did have a exclusively ran electronic music class, which I did for almost the full extent of my final years of schooling, and it wasn't fancy. It was a big deal for us to get. Like, we got a APC 40, which is a Ableton Live MIDI performance controller, which is what I use when I perform now. And we got one in like year 11 or 12, and it was a big deal for the department. Like, it was a massive deal. It's like a $350 controller back then. It was a giant deal, like for what is basically a public school in the ACT, and in a very small class. Like, it was a class of 10 people, sometimes smaller towards the end, because some of them, they left. But I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I got really. We've spoken about this before, but just privately. Had a really lovely and good teacher who helped me with just trying to figure out, like, I'll give Pip Kane a shout out. If he ever listens to this, I'm very grateful. And all the Moscow success, all the Moscowness that I have is probably deeply influenced by just by that sort of giving me a platform to write music. And it was a big thing, because I got to share it, and I think my first song that I ever really wrote, which was for that class, was a dubstep song called Era 36, which I don't even think I have anymore. I feel
like I heard it, but yeah.
Yeah, someone has it somewhere, but I don't know where it is. I actually got, I don't know why this happened, but I actually sort of performed it at assembly in front of all of Narrabundah. So it was the first song I had ever written, I think. It was just randomly a little dubstep song, and so it was just like a big thing to be able to like show work and make it and fall in love with. I still think just like, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone with their own DAW, with their own software for making music, but there's just something that happens with some people and music making software that is just, it's like a love affair. It's just like a beautiful and romantic thing, and it just started this thing in me that I still have, more than 10 years later, of just like I just think some of these programs are quite beautiful to use. They're really. I'm not a big tech guy. I don't have much of a fancy setup. I didn't have a mic for 6 months when I was first making music. But there's something very beautiful just about like it's a back and forth. You know what I mean? And that's a real.
You're on Ableton, right?
Yeah, I'm on Ableton.
That's your particular lover.
That's my poison, and I've just found, and I found that deeply when I was doing the 30 days music challenge. I just was like, this is a beautiful love affair that I've stumbled across. Like it's such a boon of connection, and like this weird ease of use and challenge, and there's all these secrets and things you can do, and it's like the Philosopher's Stone, like these doors, these softwares. They're like they're a feedback loop that is like capable of pushing you as much as you're capable of pushing it, and it rewards you a bit for almost trying to break it. Like it's just such an interesting thing. And as someone who tries to do a bit of sound design with some pretty primitive tools, you'd be surprised how much magic is in, I don't know, that connection. It's kind of an odd thing to say because it's literally ones and zeros on a screen, but dressed up in a pretty frock. But it's meaningful and it's very interesting. And so, yeah, I sort of started up with Ableton, and I was lucky because I was a 16-year-old in a class of like maybe 8 to 10 people, and we had a little computer room, and they all had Ableton on which Ableton is, I don't know how much it is, but it is an incredibly expensive computer program to legally buy. Even as a student, I think the cost
you get a student discount, but or like, and maybe you get a bigger discount as a school or something, but it's still...
They would. But it definitely meant that I got to use a legit music making tool without... I mean, I was a kid. I didn't really... Like, I don't really support... I don't torrent things or illegally pirate software because people have made it, and it is very hard to make good software. It's hard to make a very good EQ. I can't make one. So I think people should, if they can, they should buy the plugins.
I heard a good a motto that I like, but I too, have rarely used cracked stuff. But I heard the idea that if you earn enough to pay for it with the software, then that's the point. You should definitely buy it.
I mean, I've seen screenshots of like people like Kanye who still
with a cracked version.
They still time. Although
they get hit for it though. Like if you're Kanye and you post a photo of it, then
they should. They really should. They should get a lawyer knocking on their door, being like that makes no sense. But I did definitely start with the cracked version just because I had no idea I almost didn't even know what a DAW was, other than like this thing that, so
yeah.
I ended up, but yeah, it was fortunate that we got those tools, and I kind of, I fell in love with it so badly that I decided to, basically Narrabundah is a weird school. You get to choose the thing that mostly goes towards your final year 12 score. So it ends up meaning that you get to ditch a lot of your bad subjects. They don't go towards your final thing. So I basically, I guess, double majored in electronic music when I was at Bunda, and I just loved it. It was just the funnest thing. And I was like, I can't live without this outside of school. And so I got 3 jobs, as any 18-year-old should. I got 3 jobs, 3 casual jobs, and saved up, and I decided to go to New York for 5 or 6 months, and I studied at a little place that is, since I don't think it exists anymore.
Really?
But it's a little place called Dubspot in New York, and I did a bunch of just sort of, I guess they were like elective classes, but ran by professionals from the industry. So the Ableton Live course was run by the guy who did a lot of like the beta testing. Like he was for the people who make Novation launchpads. I forget maybe the company's called Novation. Anyway, he was like a music tech specialist guy who would like help develop and trial new computer and music making softwares, I guess.
Wow.
And anyways, so there was like, it was a good thing to do, very intimidating thing to do for an 18-year-old from a fairly small city. But that's what I did, and helped me kind of make music through that year after school. And I guess I sort of just built on that from there. Went to Sydney to do a bit of music learning at UTS there. Didn't really like it, but nevertheless, sort of like, it's been a love affair that I've built on slowly but surely over the years, I guess.
With a big blip in the middle where you had you remarried or something.
Yeah,
do you want to cover that just like a touch, just to not have a giant shadow?
Yeah. So then, when I was about 20, I got really interested in fragrance making and the world of perfume, and I kind of was in a spot where I discovered that I didn't really. I think that was the first time I really realized I didn't fully control my creative impulses. Like I realized that like this thing is outside of me somehow, and I'm just following it along. I'm like drifting behind it, and that's in my best course of action to sort of like to kind of chase after it in a way. Like, and so that's what I did with perfume. And so I spent, I guess, 6 years or so. 6 or 7 years, sort of just developing my own skill set with perfume. Studied under like a fairly, I guess, a bit of like a veteran perfumer from the UK who set up a school in Bangkok, and so I sort of learned the tricks of.
Give him a shout out.
Sorry,
want to give him a shout out?
Sure, I'll give him a shout out. I'm not sure if he's. I honestly don't know if he's still alive, but he might be.
If he's dead, even better.
But his name was Stephen Downthwaite, I think his name was, and he was, again, it was like a muse sort of like apprentice and the sorcerer sort of thing. Like for me, it was a magic kind of moment. Those and also experiences.
Like I remember when you pivoted, like we sort of got back in touch around that time for some reason. Like I think we went for a walk in Melbourne. I think I was still living in Melbourne, or maybe I'd just moved back to Canberra. And you were it was like 3 weeks after, or maybe even before. I think it was after you'd had kind of a crisis. Like it reminded me of hearing people who like have to realize that their alcoholism is destroying their lives or something. You had to realize that you needed to do perfume, and it was like kind of horrible. You're like, what the fuck has my life been before this? If this is what I'm doing now, like, tough transition.
It was a tough transition. I mean, I think I found the transition going back to music harder, to be honest.
Which is saying something, I think. Because that was really hard.
Because I think it's just one of those things. I think like more people were, it's interesting. I mean, I think I kind of a lot of people think they really write the. I don't know. They're like sort of riding their creativity like a horse or something, or they're like they own the characters of their creative impulses. It's not something that it's like something that they built and that they can mold and they can switch off in some way or. But I firmly believe that like I I get into trouble, I think, creatively, and I'm not as true to myself somehow if I start to think that I know. I know the makings of my intuition. I somehow built them myself, or I can read them in a way that like a palm reader could, or really it's smoke signals. That's the best I can do. it's just I can, the snow is up to my neck, and I can see some little sticks in the indents of the snow. I can just it's kind of, and to be honest, to embrace that fully is to be really your most free. It's to be the most authentic. And the times when I've struggled most with the creativity, it's when I feel like I'm sort of should-ing myself. I'm being a victim to my own and like inertia, I guess. And that's tricky because I don't feel like a multidisciplinary artist at all. I don't feel like an artist with multiple avenues of expression, despite the fact that I literally am that. Like very much so.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that, and it's made the pivoting between music and perfume pretty hard, I would say. But also it's made it it's kind of made it like instinctual. It's made it immediate. Because I had in a certain way, and not to talk around the perfume thing.
Oh no,
but
I think we touched it enough.
yeah. But I think well, also not to like disrespect the fact that I was so inside it. I needed to. It's very hard for like a young person to make meaningful music. I know there are cases with you have 16-year-olds who like bam, they're just these like incredible artists, but it's that I think people don't realize that is actually beyond rare. It's like very, very hard for a young person to make music that is going to help them make music in 5 to 10 years. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it's a tricky thing, and the perfume stuff, it gave me a way of basically learning about. Perfume is great in the sense that it's an art form that's kind of like putty. It's a sculptural thing, and it absorbs anything it touches. It's really a sponge. And
what do you mean
as
by
a result,
I get the putty thing, but what do you mean by absorbs? How does it absorb?
As a result, it allowed, like being a perfumer kind of allowed me to like basically use and learn about anything I could possibly know or ever want to know.
I see.
So like one day I'd be making a perfume based on the Odyssey by Homer, and the next day I'd be making a perfume about a black hole 45 billion light years away. And the next day I'd be making one about how intimacy works in the world of mental health. And like just bang,
it reminds
bang,
me of David Foster Wallace talking about writing. I feel like there's I can't remember what essay, maybe it's writing on writing, but saying that writing is like this, that
it was really like
touch everything.
It was very much like it allows you to sort of spread these tendrils out into the world and just bring anything you get in. You're able to cast a very wide net. And I felt like being a teenager and trying to make music, I couldn't do that. And I don't know if that's a unique experience to just me, or if that's a thing that is really felt. But my net, or my sort of the size of the lens that I looked through the world was very, very narrow when I was, say, like a 19-year-old trying to become a professional musician. It was very, very narrow. And I didn't know what I needed to broaden that, or like, or what I needed to really like. I think the expression is to cut my teeth. Is that the expression?
I think so.
yeah, I didn't know what I needed to make myself, honestly, like a bit tougher, to make myself
Mm.
creatively withstand some problems,
Mm.
because that is really like, that's the big thing.
That's
How do you
huge. Yeah.
get away from this greenness? Because you have this
Mm.
greenness, uh, this inexperience, which is a virtue in a lot of ways, and it's a gift. But it
Mm.
really is it's a problem. Like it's
Mm.
you can't really live with that for too long. I don't think. And
Mm. It reminds me of an
perfume.
epiphany. Oh, sorry. It's a very quick
No,
side note.
go.
Once I heard Lex Friedman describe his coding work,
Right.
which is kind of his creative outlet, but he said, like, I can't remember what percentage, like 80% of it is just debugging. And that like hit me because I was like, oh yes, all the bullshit I have to put up with just to like make sure my computer has enough space on it to fit my files so that they work and that kind of thing. All that, or like just like, I don't know, yeah, buying new cables, all the stuff that feels meaningless, um, is part of pushing that beautiful boulder up the
Yeah.
hill. It really hit me. Anyway, yes, do
No,
go on.
totally. And I think the perfume stuff helped me to kind of like, yeah, it helped me to work through what maybe becoming a better musician would be without me realizing that that's what I was doing.
Mm.
So then I then became a musician again. Really, I became a musician for the first time, I think. I really,
Mm.
after after going through some of that and having the struggles I had also in mental health and with other things, coming out of that and then making music and doing it regularly, yeah, I kind of it it just helped me so much and
Mm.
helped me to become what I might have actually really needed to be as a musician. Like
Mm.
who I actually really was as a musician started to kind of show itself, and that is a very precious thing. It took me probably like 6 or 7 years
Mm.
to really do that, and now it's yeah, now it feels like that part of it has worked out,
That's
or is
great.
is working out, because
Mm.
it's whatever you have to do to make the creative answers just even slightly clearer. I think
Mm.
is really important, and it's tricky because there's that thing which I think is in the um, God. I think Jesus said it. I'm not
Go
sure. I
for
think
it.
it's in the Thomas. Anyway, it's in one of the Gnostic
Right.
chapters. I
Yeah.
think it's something like if you free what's inside you. But if you, what is it? No, I'm going to butcher it. It's
Go
something
for it.
like if you're able to like if you can embrace what's inside you will free you. If you if you turn away from what's inside you will kill you. It's something
Mm.
like
Mm.
that,
Mm.
and it comes back to that idea, which is even in the artist way,
Mm.
which is like that unused creativity is not benign. It doesn't. If you have
Mm.
creative energy inside you, that energy, and you don't use it, it
Mm.
isn't just going to fly away into the ether and bother someone else.
Mm.
It actually, unfortunately, maybe this is a bit of a neurotic thing, but it really does become like poison. Like it
Mm.
really,
There's a
yeah.
Julia Cameron's stuff's really Jungian, and Jung has that quote, which he may have gotten from studying Gnosticism, but that the unlived creative life of the parent is one of the biggest effect I don't know, biggest factors affecting an individual.
Mm,
So if your parent
that's
is
it's so
not living
true.
out what they need
There,
to
yeah,
fulfill their potential, they'll take it
mm,
out on the child, or they'll push the child
yeah,
into realizing that potential. Yeah.
and it's so easy. I imagine it. I mean, that's such a tricky thing as well because it's just so easy to start lying and start like building a little cage for yourself, and yeah, it's a tricky thing, but it is like I think the music stuff has helped me to use this creative energy in a way that is genuinely better for everyone around me and myself. I think because I had a lot of creative energy that was sitting inside me without realizing that I wasn't doing much with, and I think it was really very, very toxic for me, and it's hard to not feel alone with that because it's such an internal battle. Like it's such a
if you're not expressing stuff, I guess it works really well physically. Actually, as you have things building up inside you, you grow inflated. I think that's the Jungian term once again. Is you can become way more arrogant the less you express because you're not actually testing your potential against the world. I suffer so much from this, where like but I think I'm a genius because I haven't tried out what I'm doing and tried to actually put it in the world. So you can think I could do that, but better from your high inflated position instead of trying to do stuff and remembering, oh no, I'm an idiot just like everybody else. Just like
that's right. You got to be the fool before you're the wise man. It's the story of the jester or something. I can't remember it, but yeah, there's something there that's very much. People are so scared of being judged, and that's very fair because it's very scary.
Yeah, and being judged
it's the much
once meant the end of your access to resources and stuff. Like
absolutely, and even now, it
can. Yeah,
it's really it's not easy. But I think that it's much worse. It's much worse to sort of think I have this incredible genius inside me, and I'm never going to show anyone because I can't be wrong about it. That is a kind of death. That is like a small death.
It's a death preempted. It's a death that you're like, I think I'll just die now.
I'm going to just fall on this sword so other people. It's kind of like, comedians going up on stage and immediately making jokes about the way they physically appear so that they can get the jump on someone kind of doing that, which it just sets up some problems. I think
it has to be it has to be right. It has to be done right. It has to be balanced. You want it.
Elizabeth Gilbert said, and feel free to tag her.
Shout out to Elizabeth Gilbert.
I love an Elizabeth Gilbert.
She's actually look. She's next on the podcast actually.
Oh yeah, buddy. We've got that podcast and sponsorship. Anyway.
Also, we're gonna have to stop talking in like a minute because we've timed out again. But we'll be back. We'll get back to it. But yeah.
Should I save this, or should I?
You know what? Maybe yes. How about that? Since I've already disrupted the flow, hold your thought about Elizabeth Gilbert. Stay tuned, everybody.
Let's Gilbert.
Gilbert. See you soon.
See you soon. This is the interface.
What interface do you use?
I use the deep dive tech.
Ready with
Moss. Audient. It is called the Audient ID 4, and it is the little brother to the Audient ID 14, I think. And it is pretty simple, but a definite upgrade from my other one. And I'm pretty happy with it. I think I'd like a new one. I'd like I'd like to upgrade it, even though we've only had it not even a year. But you know how it goes. Want the next thing?
Yeah, I want the next thing. Want that Blue Chew.
Blue Chew.
Have you heard about Blue Chew? It's just advertised on a bunch of podcasts I listen to. It's like chewable. It's kind of like Viagra or Cialis, but it comes in kind of a gum form.
Right.
Tell me about Elizabeth Gilbert. Well, welcome back, listeners. Thank you for your patience.
We had a brief intermission, and yes, we had a brief intermission. Okay, I'll try and remember this. Basically, the idea with Elizabeth Gilbert was that she was sort of talking about this thought experiment or something like that, where it's like there's this. Every artist has this like she calls it something like the diamond butterfly, the crystal like holographic butterfly. This beautiful spinning, hovering, levitating thing in our minds and in our hearts, and that is like that's the purity of our creative idea in some sense. It's the imagined ephemeral thing that lives out in the ether. It's it's the song that's gonna cure world hunger. It's the sculpture that's gonna make everything lose its matter. Anyways, yes. So where am I going with that? We all have this thing, this crystal butterfly, but that's not a piece of art. That's not a thing. Doesn't exist. It isn't real, and we really fall in love, or can fall in love with this ephemeral thing that it's perfect in our brain. The idea is never more perfect than in this ephemeral crystalline butterfly, and it's so much more infinitely better, millions of times more useful and good to take that butterfly and just shove it into the form of art that you need it to be, even if it's all mangled and it's all broken up and the wings are bent and the crystal has turned into like cheap glass and blah blah blah. That mangled sort of weird looking obscure butterfly is real. You can touch it and you can hand it to your friend and be like, hey, this is this thing I made, and you can put it out into the world and you can put it online and you can have it be a thing that is real. And that process she was talking about of making this crystalline, beautiful, illusory butterfly into the real thing, even though it's much less beautiful seeming than the imagined one, is really important to keep in your heart, I guess, because you have so much stuff that you could potentially make, and it's such a shame to fall in love with the matador's cape and not make the thing and make it again, and slowly, and I don't think she actually says this part, but I'll embellish, bit by bit that butterfly does get more like the crystalline butterfly. It is, its wings are straighter, the glass is clearer, it looks prettier, it's starting to levitate on its own.
And yeah, maybe that's like. Oh, sorry. Finish here. Yeah.
No, I think that's it.
I think that's like that may be quite a good explanation or framing for the way you went through your late teens and early 20s doing like the music, where in hindsight you feel like maybe you didn't exactly know how to make music, or you certainly didn't have as good a sense of what music really is or was. And then through the perfume and coming out the Moss Girl side of things in your late 20s, going like being more satisfied. I guess you've accumulated, and I've had the same experience with my work, accumulated like meta skills and a relationship with that butterfly that is I feel like it's super common it's like what your 20s are about a lot of the time, is people learning enough skills and meta skill, like learning how to manage what they know how to do in and planet and all that kind of thing.
Sure.
learning how to do enough stuff to actually have an effect in the world. Because you finish school and you're like, all right, I know how to like maybe finish a test or something, and that's about it.
Yeah,
or like I know how to chat to
that,
my friends. Like
I know how mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like, and that's being like, if there are any folks that young, like finishing school, listening, like, no disrespect, you actually do know a lot of stuff, but I feel like I've like, well, with both what you and I do, we have to know how to like sing and sort of make music, which is a bit different, like manipulate instruments, let's say, and then record it, and then produce it or arrange it or whatever, and then mix it, and then master it, and then fucking sell it somehow, which is probably for both of us like the challenge that we're still really like budding on. I don't know if either of us really like got like a pattern that we're just rinsing and repeating because it works, kind of thing. So it's a lot of skills to accumulate, and so it makes sense that it takes a lot of years to really like sort all that out and start feeling moderately satisfied by it.
I think you've got to live a bit, you've got to see some stuff, you've got to encounter some challenges. You also need to develop a work ethic, a kind of discipline. That's one thing that I keep bringing it back to the 30 days, the month of music. It's just the discipline. It's just the commitment to do the thing, and it's like you did the thing. That's great. Do it again. That was good. Do it again. Do it again after that as well.
Yeah, and try and get a little bit.
See.
Yeah.
And just see. It's like I saw a great thing somewhere on the interwebs. It was some artist talking in the 60s. He was explaining how artists need to so thoroughly be allowed to. I'll find the clip and Toby can put it in the show notes if he wants to. It was about how artists so deeply deserve and need to have periods of like aimlessness. They need to be. They need to sometimes make mistakes in a really repetitive way without seemingly resolving them and moving on. Like they need to have periods of enormous amounts of sort of drift and plateauing and things that we don't consider to be good, marketable things that we associate with successful artists are basically the kind of crux of what really successful artists all sort of need, or at least the artist that wants to live it every day. The artist, because it is not, I think like Flying Lotus faced this very deeply. He basically just made beats when he was young, and he was amazingly talented, and that's how he made like Los Angeles, his 2008 album. It was just kind of sounds that he made, basically. It's him sitting down on a computer and punching this stuff out. He very quickly realized that like he wanted to do this for the rest of his life, and that you kind of need more than that to make a world that is creative. And you need to, I don't know, you need to kind of like, it's like I think you touched on this maybe in a previous episode, the necessity to have a life that is larger than your practice, that's larger than your work. And having it so that, and that's such a hard thing if you're a bit of a loner like I am, and you grew up, I don't know, and you've kind of developed into this introverted way. It's hard to be like, well, how's my, it's hard to, how do you make the life bigger? But I think part of it is just sticking with it and pushing through. I guess it's sort of
I think
simple.
It gets more fun, or like I've noticed myself start to I've cultivated this, but I'm getting addicted to what I call the trench. It's what I heard Huberman call it, where it's basically work where you just sit down and do something really boring that is like pushing your project forward. So stuff like in video editing, if I'm just like going through footage, cutting out a bit,
Yeah.
putting it there, doing the next thing, or maybe it's similar work in audio, just going through like making sure everything's cross-faded or whatever it is. A work like that, I now I get like grouchy if I don't get like a really good session in of that regularly. I need, because that's the stuff I'm like, I maybe it's just the stuff I used to neglect a lot or something. But yeah, being in the trench for me is now like this meditative state that I try and cultivate, because I know its value, because I know that that's a huge proportion of time needs to be spent that way. And if I do it, then things keep moving forward. And if I don't, then they don't. It's like a bottleneck. It's like a boredom bottleneck that I'm just like, give me that. And it's something I can do almost all the time. Even if I'm really tired, I can usually do grunt work like that. But it's so easy to ignore. So that's being in the trench.
That's very good. I like it. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah.
You go.
Oh, I was going to say that's very good, and also slightly surprising in a small way. Like, because it is not, some of that stuff is not pleasant.
Totally. I think that's why it's taken this long to get to it. It's because I've had to learn to associate that state with progress. But it's true. It's like it's that stuff that pushes the boat forward. But no, it's not pleasant at all. It's really frustrating. But like, but I'm so glad I've done it once I've done it. And I think maybe also just people I admire talk about spending time in that state. And so it's the state that I cultivate, not the not like I'm not looking at the progress. And I think that's what makes it easier. Yeah. Like, even though I know that the state results in progress, I'm not going like, oh, I got this many bars finished or something. I'm just going like, I spent 4 hours in that state. It's good.
Yeah. Well, you've heard it here first, everyone. If you need your vocals cross-faded and your kicks tuned by like half a cent, we'll put Toby's Patreon below.
Send them my way. I'll do your incredibly boring work for you.
My old teacher used to say, in Ableton there's a thing you do which is very similar to that. It is grunt work. It's called warping, warping tracks. I don't know if there's an equivalent in Logic, maybe. But it's just when you're time stretching audio to hit at certain. It's basically basically syncing up a piece of audio to a grid, to a quantized grid.
Right.
So a piece of audio that doesn't hit on the one, you move to the one. Of course, if you sort of I'm trying to get my fingers for the air quotes into the camera frame.
Yeah, they're in.
If you when I used to DJ with Ableton, which is not something I really recommend people try, but they would, you'd have to time stretch an entire song, basically bit by bit, because Ableton can't. Maybe it's better these days, but Ableton's AI couldn't actually judge where the song is in relationship to the tempo over 5 minutes. So my old teacher, he used to go in and as as a way of winding down, he would get 14 tracks, put them into Ableton, and just line them up as a way of sort of like a kind of enjoyable grunt work, because it's quite. Wow. I mean, it's satisfying because you put the metronome on, and you just go back and you change something, and it's a little off, and you go back, and it's So there's probably something about it that's like quite satisfying. I'm all right. I'm all right.
Pimples.
Yeah, it's like a one of those satisfying video type things. I've done it enough that I'm all right at it, but it is like a little bit like that. You've really got to, and especially like doing stuff with the vocals like that. It's gotten so much to the point for me where I am like, my natural approach now is to really try and basically get it from my take. So like I really don't. It's interesting that I've come around to that, because I used to really be against that. Like everything would be warped and like to this last, like a computer couldn't make it better timed than I could, sort of thing. Now, a lot of the times I just do the takes vocally until I hit something that I like rhythmically, and I just leave it. Unless there's something horrible, I just leave it, because I don't want to muck with it. Like I want to leave this thing.
It's often what renders it human. Like
That's
all the best electronic music, even like real strict kind of like techno and stuff, it'll have some, I shouldn't say every single track, but most music that people like has some element at least that is not quantized. So either the vocal will sit a little out, they won't have all the consonants like on a grid that you can easily feel.
Yes, I think
obviously
so.
My perspective on rhythm would be that the grid is infinite. You just have to zoom in enough. But
that's so good.
But
I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah, right. But
no, that's true. It's
you want a little
thing, and
you want a little swag in there, and people like house producers are always just moving that hat like
absolutely
each way.
Oh yeah, you've kind of it needs. It's also one of those things where if you, the way around that is to make things sound so perfect and so precise that they now sound artificially heightened and interesting. So they sound now they sound novelly inhuman or something like that. Hyperpop kind of does a version of that, I would say, in a way that in a way that is very interesting. But it's like if you just twist the knob far enough and make it sort of sound mathematically clean enough, all of a sudden it just sounds completely insane. Like that's not what sane music walking down the street, like hearing it. That's not what music really sounds like, which is really interesting, because it means now there's so many other ways of kind of like inverting and augmenting very popular sort of sounds, or just approaching music in general, without just making everything like, oh yeah, I'm an underground producer, I make this alt music, I'm really artsy. You don't even have to do that now. You can just kind of play more with your approach to every part of your music, and have things blend more with whatever you feel like should blend together. I don't know if there's a point in there that I just made, but it sounded cohesive.
Yeah, I was in there with you. Something I wanted to say, just because I need to hear it over and over, so I might as well say it out loud in case it benefits listeners, which can be concluded from what you were saying initially, is just that like the source material is everything. If you make it good going like if you have a decent microphone and then play amazing music into it, and then just like layer those sounds so that you can hear them all and export it, you may get you'll get very close to just like good marketable music. Like Jacob Collier is a great example of that. It's like a lot of his early music, I don't know how much he had to do to mix it, because he's just such a good musician. He plays it in wonderfully. And then like there are different instruments, so they hit different frequencies, and he gets them like basically at good volumes, and that's it. That's all he had to do, because it's good music, and it works like that. So if your source
the music speaks for itself. Right. Yeah, I think it's tricky. It's interesting because it's like with him, his music. I'm projecting here because I'm not humongously big. Like I don't know his stuff that well, but like I think it's also one of those things. He's in a realm of the music world where he can. It is about so deeply about the music itself, meaning like the material itself, like what is he doing vocally, and the notes and rhythms. There's not an enormous. I mean, I'm sure now and in his later, more recent stuff, this isn't as true. But I imagine when he started out like that, he didn't really. He didn't need to have a sort of a production heavy side to it, so he was able to have that sort of like the source material speak for itself by itself kind of thing.
Yeah,
which is it's very like that is a very good position to be in.
Yeah. And just to back him up and make him more irritatingly talented, he definitely can produce like practically no one else. Having watched some of his deep dive videos on the more poppy stuff he does, he can. Yeah, he's got that ear. He's really
They do tend to have that ear.
Good at
God bless him.
Everything. Yeah. God bless Jacob Collier.
He'll be on my
next podcast after Elizabeth Gilbert.
We've got a quote.
That's going to be what I'll put on the thumbnail for this podcast.
So you can put it on my gravestone.
Okay.
No, don't do that. No one do that.
Moss Girl, I feel like we're approaching. We've done a lot.
Top of the.
And so maybe you could tell us what you've got going now. What's Moss Girl's current situation and any future projects, anything like that?
Okay, well, current situation. Well, you've heard of Coney 2012. I'm not going to finish that sentence.
Such a confusing reference. I don't even know. Go on.
It is a confusing reference. No, I guess I've got a little single that's coming out that is.
Is there a date for that or not yet?
Not officially, but it will be next month. It will be June.
Maybe I'll release this at maybe the single will already be out by the time I release this. Maybe not. We'll see.
Maybe. Who knows? It sort of depends on how long the But yeah, the special. I guess. Well, there's some special things about it, I guess. But the publicly special thing is that it is going to be tandem joint released with my very first music video, and so they will come out at the same time, which is a thing I think I'm going to try and do kind of more of now, to release a video with the new release. From the go.
That said, can I want to interject just with the plan that I've heard that I'm trying to adopt, which is real cool. Yeah, I'm loving this.
Yes, my eyes have I'll have what she's having eyes. Anyway.
Some great AI generated content with those eyes.
Yeah, I think.
Did you see? It's like the paint me like one of your French girls scene from Titanic, where they're both like this the whole time.
Oh yeah. The face augmentation. Yeah. Nice.
Sorry. This interruption is valuable, I swear. Mr. Musefirmation reckons that the best way to have that CSP system, whatever it is, sustained promotion, is to release the single with just a album art video. Then 2 weeks later to release a lyric video, then 2 weeks after that to release your actual video clip, and then by that time you've been going a month and a half and it's time to release your next single, basically. In another 2 months, a single every 2 months, and then you can really just have something exciting every 2 weeks to celebrate on the socials and that kind of thing. So build your content around it. But go on.
Yeah. No, that's
because this is new information to you. I'm sorry to like chuck it at you during a podcast, because when I learned about this stuff, it gave me like a bit of an existential crisis, because I was like, these are obviously good ideas in terms of marketing. I should do this. I haven't been doing anything quite like at all like this. I have to change everything. Fuck. Like it's really affected me. So sorry to throw that at you.
I'll send you
this guy. Yeah, I'll link him in the description too. Jesse Cannon of Musefirmation. It's the best music marketing advice I've ever come across by a long way. It just it sweats authenticity.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, but great idea to have the video clip and the single together. Fantastic.
Jesus Christ. I'm just going to shit all over what you love now. No, I'm just joking.
Feel free.
anyone anxiety prone in the listenership, don't worry. We are just joking. I too am very anxious at all times, especially when I'm asleep. Anyways, we'll get into that.
I hate those anxious sleeps.
I can't see anything. I'm so anxious. I can't see anything because
maybe it's because you got ants in my eyes, Johnson.
When I'm hi, I'm Anson Myers Johnson. Anyways, yes, I got a single coming out which is a remix of the 1998 song "I'm Blue." Dabba dee dabba da.
That's very exciting.
And it's coming out, and it's the last song from 2022 that I will be releasing. So it's a significant one. It's all the real new material after that.
Do you want to name the video clip producer person, or is that too early?
Yeah. No, it's fine. Their name is AKA Fairy Boy on Instagram.
Nice.
They're very, very talented, and I actually found out about them through a lovely group of people who I will give a shout out to, who I don't think will listen to this, but nevertheless, I'll give a shout out to them, called Night Fruit. They are a Melbourne-based duo of pop electronica who are very, very great, and they have gotten some artwork done by Fairy Boy, and you should check his stuff out because he has very, very little following for how good he is. I probably should say they. I'm not sure what they identify as, but nevertheless, I don't know them, so it's hard.
But they do name themselves a boy, so there's something.
That is true. And so yeah, his stuff is very, very interesting, and I thought it would be, and very, very reasonably priced for what it is for a 4.5 minute music video, because they get expensive. They get expensive. Anyways, so that's going to come out soon, very soon.
Or possibly is already out. I'll see when I put this podcast out. Because if I can save enough up, maybe the best strategy. This is weirdly meta, especially if the single's already out. Maybe the best strategy is to put the podcast out like a few days after, so you can share about it and have you talking about it.
Idea.
But I may not have enough. I desperately, for my own ego, need to put out a podcast every week, and so I may run out of podcasts before I.
Worst comes to the worst, we can always just clip it. We can always do clips afterwards.
True, absolutely, and feel free to clip it yourself. Or we could do another podcast. Podcast. Print on demand. Another service I have learnt from Newsformation. You can have, like, if you want to make T-shirts, you can get them made only once they've already been paid for by customers. That makes sense. So you don't have to put money down and print a batch. You can just set up an online store, and then when someone buys it, then they make it and they send it. Which blew my mind. Of course that exists. Of course it does. What a great business opportunity. But I just feel like
the shirts. So the shirts don't exist before.
They don't exist. I mean, you send you have a design for them so that they can be made at any time, and you arrange. I imagine there's some kind of a fee to have this relationship with the company. Like maybe you pay $10 a month or something.
Because I was going to say that's just what Etsy is, but that's not what Etsy is, because you do actually have to have, you would need the 50 shirts. You see what I mean?
Yeah. And the perfumer would have to make the perfume because you had an Etsy store. Yeah. Whereas they'll make it up for you, which is just amazing.
Yeah, right. And there is, Etsy was good because it did. I don't know if I'll go into this, but anyway, Etsy's fine. I like Etsy a lot more as a customer than I do as someone who made a living off it for a little while, because they take. They do take, it's based on how many listings, how many items you have for sale. They take that out of your cut, basically, which is great because it's good in a way because you don't pay monthly. You don't pay a monthly sign-up fee. You don't pay. Where Shopify or GoDaddy, those points of sales, they're however many dollars a year. There's no sign-up. There's no fee like that with Etsy, but still, they do take. I'd make an $80 sale and I'd only get sometimes I'd only get like maybe $55 from it, and I have to post.
Significant.
But that is also because I'm a very bad businessman. No, I'm all right.
You were, and then you learnt a lot. And look out for Moscow, the business mogul.
That's right. Feel free
Coming to a
buy
store
my
near you.
merch. I will eventually start selling merch off the Bandcamp, or at least having merch on there to buy on the Bandcamp. But I literally only just set up the Bandcamp, like
I like
3 or 4 days ago.
Well,
so,
congratulations. Go to Moscow's Bandcamp.
Yeah, we'll link it. Maybe
it'll be in the description. It'll all be in the. I feel like the last 10 minutes of these podcasts have devolved. We're being silly, but it's been wonderful. It's been so good to have you.
Yeah.
Anything that we've missed?
No, other than I deeply implore everyone who listens to this to please listen to definitely both of our music, but especially my music.
Right.
Because I need them streaming royalties. Papa needs a brand new pair of loafers. And I'm saving up to buy I don't know, something
more video
probably.
clip stuff, probably, or gear to make more beautiful music. Well, thank you so much for being on Moscow. I appreciate you very deeply.
It is my pleasure, and I'm grateful to be here, and thank you for having me.